Hey, welcome back to A Bold Leader and the podcast that accompanies my blog. I appreciate you coming back. We are in still season 1 and episode 2, the second blog post on the A Bold Leader blog. And this was called A Recipe for Bold. Any blog called A Bold Leader had best begin with a conversation about what that even means. So here we go, starting with a little context. While we tend to have a generally favorable image of those called to lead, leaders are not universally righteous, nor are they always good. In fact, among the most recognizable historic leaders are figures like Genghis Khan, was the subject of the featured pick, and Adolf Hitler. Historic captains have quivers filled with a host of diverse arrows, strength, intelligence, charisma, and determination, for example. Even the ratios in which they display these traits are as unique as their DNA, some for better, some for worse. One characteristic, however, is constant among those who change history. They're bold. In fact, if a leader is not bold, those arrows remain in the quiver, never drawn, never nocked, and never shot. Boldness is the one common trait shared by every leader who's ever made a difference of any kind. Bold as an adjective for leadership can describe a wide variety of influence. Leading boldly certainly describes Washington crossing the Delaware on Christmas to set the course for American independence. It also describes Malala Yousafzai's fight for girls' education in Pakistan, and even Elon Musk's dogged pursuit of commercially viable EVs and private space travel. As far as I'm concerned, all these examples work. Each of these leaders faced significant threats and obstacles, harsh conditions, cultural oppression, technology deficits, yet each found a way to realize a noble and historic victory. In all three situations, it wasn't enough to possess the moral, intellectual, or actual physical high ground. They had to draw on something else to overcome adversity and win the day. They had to be bold, where others with the same information and similar resources might have been indecisive or even meek. They each had the requisite intelligence, drive, and experience to know the way, but they charged ahead with something else that closed the achievement gap, something uncommon, something not from the head, but from the heart. They were bold. The head may be where a plan comes together, but the boldness to execute that plan flows from the heart. Yet bold isn't fearless. Fearless doesn't exist in the psyche of a rational leader. Courage certainly does, but courage is different. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the conquest of it. In my experience, bold isn't homogenous at all. It's a complex mix of sometimes competing traits. A good analogy this time of year is to think of bold as a kind of stew. A hearty recipe with just a few key ingredients. In a tested iron pot, start with a strong base of moral courage, then stir in a pinch of audacity and a healthy portion of confidence. Avoid the temptation to substitute the much more common arrogance. It overpowers the stew and leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouths. Bring the whole mix to a thoughtful simmer and sprinkle generously with humility, humanity, and humor. Skip the hubris. Finally, garnish with as much situational awareness as you can get your hands on. Keep warm and uncovered, ready to serve up at a moment's notice. So what might this stew taste like in the real world? In a recent Bold Leader Spotlight, Bold Business featured Stanley McChrystal, retired U.S. Army General and founder of the McChrystal Group, describing what it means to be a bold leader in his own words. McChrystal said, "In the military, we say that nobody gets fired for following our doctrine. But we're not hired or trained to follow our doctrine. We're hired to win." McChrystal's description paints a simple but vivid picture of what it often means to be a bold leader, doing what it takes to get the job done, to win. The trouble is, what it takes is sometimes pretty scary. In fact, we're just broaching the subject and I can already almost hear the excuses. Well, that's never been done before. Nah, it's company policy. We don't do that. But what happens if this doesn't work? I'm afraid of who will piss off. These lamentations underscore why our bold stew starts with a strong base of moral courage. We'll spend a lot of time in this blog exploring the various ways rules, policies, doctrine, and even laws work for us and against us, as well as how to lead in each case. We'll stare down fear and other impediments to becoming a bold leader, swallowing their bitter, painful repercussions for the sake of victory and living with the consequences, positive and negative. We'll wrestle with important questions like the difference between being bold and being foolish, and whether it's still considered bold if the leader doesn't win. Use the leave a reply box to comment. Your contributions help shape the dialogue. Also, please sign up in the join box to stay in the loop and keep the conversation alive. Of course, if you're listening to this on the podcast, feel free to leave a voicemail in the box. In the meantime, Merry Christmas to you and the ones you love this joyous holiday season. Give bold some thought over the next couple weeks, and I'll look forward to continuing the discussion with you in the new year. That's it for Season 1, Episode 2. Sounds like it's closing out 2021 on a bold leader. Look forward to having you back in 2022 when we start Season 2.